Hi guys, it's Josh Lloyd here, your NBA DraftKings first look for Monday. It's a busy Monday. We've got 10 games on, a little bit of a later start as well. 7:30 p.m. Eastern is the time of the first game. Let's take a look at these games now. The first one we're going to look at is the Charlotte Hornets and the Miami Heat. No spread or total out for this one. Jimmy Butler has returned, but we don't know if Tyler Hero is going to play, if Goran Dragic is going to play, Avery Bradley. They're all listed as questionable. Hero dealing with some COVID stuff after his housemate tested positive, so we don't know if he's going to be in there. Well, Terry Rozier is questionable for the Hornets. He was out of the last game with an ankle problem. If he is out, surely they start LaMelo Ball. But maybe they don't. Maybe they go with one of the Martins or Malik Monk in there, but there is going to be some value that does pop up for LaMelo. And speaking of LaMelo, he's at 6,500 here, which I do really like. Especially if Rozier is out. It gets a little bit tougher if Terry does play, but Melo, despite some of his struggles, he's still averaging 32 over the last 5. He dropped 55 in the last game, and he's now up to 37 over his last 3. If the minutes are there, he will produce, and at 6,500, it is not a disqualifying price tag at all. I like Cody Zeller at 5,300, not because he's got any upside, because he doesn't, but he's averaging 33 points in his last 3 games, and with the minutes they're giving him, I like it. Well, Jim Butler's at 8,400 for Jimmy and came back in his first game back from his pretty long absence and dropped 51 points. Yeah, that's really good at 8,400. Do I expect the Hornets to be able to slow him down? Not particularly. I do like Gordon Hayward at 7,500 as well. Well, Adebayo at 9,400. I think he's easing towards the high side, especially if Hero and Dragic play. Now, if those guys are out, it does help Bam somewhat because it puts the ball in his hands a little bit more. But if they're both playing, it's tough to use. I wouldn't be totally against using Malik Monk at 3,300 as well. Monk has put up some good numbers in the last couple, 25 in the last game in 23 minutes. And if Rozier is out, that's where his value comes from. Graham and Rozier, not players that I really want to look at. And I don't really want to use Tyler Hero either, especially if this is a full-strength Miami Heat team, which is a possibility. The next game, we looking at the Lakers. They're taking on the Atlanta Hawks. The Lakers are 6-point favorites on the road. The total is 218.5. Both Anthony Davis and LeBron James are questionable. The Hawks are going to be without DeAndre Hunter. They also have Rajon Rondo as probable, Trae Young as probable, and Onyeka Okongwu as probable as well. In terms of value in this one, Montrezl Harrell's at 54. Now, he got things going pretty well last game with 33 points. The matchup's okay for him. I think we can do better. Now, is that better using someone like Clint Capella at 8,800? It's not the greatest matchup for opposing big men going up against Gasol and against Davis and to a lesser extent Harrell, and I think 88 is probably a little bit too high. While Davis at 98 hasn't been dominating. The questionable tag leaves us a bit scared, but at least he is the early game, so we're going to get notification of that before the game tips. I don't mind Davis there. 10-2 for LeBron is on the high side for me, while I would much rather spend that 9-3 on Trae Young. That to me looks pretty good. Young seems to be back in form, putting up some good numbers, and we saw some pretty strong performances from him recently. 4,800 for Cam Reddish doesn't get me particularly excited. Kevin Huerter's at 59, and that price is too high, and I'm not interested either in Danilo Gallinari at his elevated salary. Let us move on now. The next game, it is the Sacramento Kings. They're taking on the New Orleans Pelicans in this one. We saw Hassan Whiteside get inexplicably big minutes last game. I don't know if that will continue. Steven Adams is questionable for the Pelicans. Whiteside's at 3,600. Now, if they decide they're playing him 20 minutes again, then that's interesting. He's averaging 22 in his last 3 games at 18 minutes. Now, let's not get anything mixed up. He's been bad in those minutes, but they still are coached by Luke Walton, and they will still make continual rotation mistakes. So, what Whiteside is a GPP guy? Maybe. Yeah, Cash? No way. No chance at all. Lonzo Ball at 55. Now, Lonzo's been actually playing at a really high level, averaging 34 his last 3, and that includes a game that he left at halftime. Really seems to be spurred on by the trade talk. Love what he's doing. Love the matchup as well. I also like Tyrese Halliburton at 5,200. Now, his upside's not particularly high, but he should be getting 29 relatively comfortably. And I think at 5,200, I don't see how you can really complain about that too much. Adams at 54 doesn't interest me, but De'Aaron Fox at 83, yeah, he's been around that 40-point mark or above that 40-point mark in most of these recent games, averaging 41 over the last 5. And Alexander Walker at 48 is at least a GPP sort of a player who they do occasionally give more minutes to than you anticipate. Love Zion's floor, 7,900. Until they put him at 83 or 84, if he's under 8,000, he is a great cash play to me. Ingram at 82 feels like a little bit too high, and so does the Marvin Bagley at 5,900 nonsense. That just feels absolutely on the high side to me. The Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is the next game we're taking a look at here. No George Hill again, so we're going to get another opportunity to see Teo Maledon in action. Maledon is at 4,300. He's been putting up 37 last game. He's going to get 30 minutes. I like him. I like him a significant amount here. Gilgeous-Alexander's at 8,100. That's a pretty good option for me as well. He's just been really consistent around that 40-point mark, while Lou Dort at 42 is only someone that I look at as a GPP player. He's not someone who has significant floor value. 6,900 for John Wall. The minutes are still on the way up for Johnny. I do think that's a really good one for him. While Baisley at 51 is averaging 27 over the last 3, but the haters would lead you to believe that he's averaging like 4 points a game. He's not bad at that price, and Christian Wood at 8,900 looks great. He always looks good, and his lowest score in his last 5, the Crucifix, is 42 DraftKings points. I like that. 6,100 for Al Horford looks all right to me as well. Really been happy what he's been doing since he returned from the birth of his child. So that looks pretty good to me. Oladipo at 8,000 doesn't really scream value, and I'm not going to be using DeMarcus Cousins with his limited role with this team at the moment, with the way that they're deciding to utilize their rotations. Next up, the Chicago Bulls hosting the New York Knicks. The Bulls here are 3.5-point favorites. Of course, there's no Wendell Carter Jr. for Chicago. So we're looking at guys like Thad Young at 5,700, who could be an interesting replacement. Now, Young is not going to be the high-scoring type, but he's averaging 35 over the last 3. That's hard to complain about. 41 in the last game, which included 11 assists, and there's some value in him. Markkanen's at 68, and while he did produce well in the last game, I'm not completely convinced. I do like Levine, though. $9,000 for Levine. He's going to be a 40-point player. I think there's cash value. I'm not sure how much actual upside there is, but there's good cash value there. And Julius Randle at 9,200, very, very similar scenario to Levine. He's going to get 40 plus, and you feel pretty good about him. Emmanuel Quickley's at 5,300. He's just been dominating at the moment, amazingly. Just putting up big game after big game. 36, 37, 43 in 3 of his last 4 games. Unfortunately, there's a 13-point game mixed in there. And that's the problem. Now, if you look 56, 53, 50% shooting, 9% shooting. Is he a 50% guy? Probably not. Is he a 9% guy? Definitely not. So there is still scope, though, at 5,300 for him to have a subpar game and provide value. So I like him quite a bit here. Alfred Payton, I can leave that alone pretty comfortably. While Rowan Barrett's at 6,700, I don't love it. Same with the 6,600 that I'd have to spend to get Kobe White in there. Not super keen on that one. Otto Porter is questionable for Chicago in this one, if anyone cares at all. Portland and Milwaukee is the next game up for us to take a look at. The Blazers are 10-point favorites, so real blowout energy here. The total's 235. There's no Derek Jones Jr. in this one for Portland, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is at 11,000. He's been just racking up the DraftKings points, 61 over the last 5, 68 over the last 3. His last 3 games against Portland, 72 points. Absolutely love him here. Chris Middleton's at 85. I think it's on the high side. 72 for Enes Kanter, though. Kanter's playing big minutes. He's blocking shots. He's getting rebounds. I don't mind using him, and if you want to go for one that no one's going to be interested in, it's Pat Connaughton, and they're not interested, rightfully so. But at 3,700, he's had 29 and 25 points in the last 2 games, playing pretty solid minutes, shooting the ball well, just being involved. I don't mind him as a GPP player here. Rob Covington at 5,000, not interested. Drew Holiday at 77, also not that keen. Lillard's at 10.7, and that's great. He's getting so many shots without CJ. He makes a lot of sense. While Gary Trent's up to 57, and Trent's been hot. But Trent can also get cold, so only for GPPs. And the same I could say for Anthony Simons at 4,200. He has an opportunity. You wouldn't use both Trent and Simons in the same lineup, though. The next game we look at is Minnesota and Cleveland. Now, by the time of me recording this, the Minnesota and Cleveland game from Sunday is still underway. And they're taking on each other again on Monday. D'Angelo Russell Will they rest him? He did return for the game on Sunday. I guess there is a possibility. But his price is all the way down at $7,000. And I do like him at that salary just because of how low it is. Sexton did hurt his ankle. He returned to action on Sunday, though. He's at $7,000 as well. I think that's too high. While Garland at 59 looks pretty good. And Andre Drummond at 8,600, especially if we're anticipating there is no Karl Anthony Towns. Drummond at 8,600 is, it looks pretty okay to me. He just is racking up points, even in limited minutes. Beasley's at 6,700, Malik Beasley. I don't mind it. I also don't love it. I think there's better ones out there. And I don't mind taking a flyer on Anthony Edwards until I look at the price and go 5,600. Is there huge amounts of upside in that? I'm not convinced. Nance, not keen. And Naz Reid's at 58, which we just don't know if Towns is going to play. I would assume Towns and Juancho are out again. And then we don't know if Reid's going to play. But if Reid does play, maybe there is some value in him for this matchup. The next game we look at, the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. This is an 8:30 p.m. tip-off for this one. No back-to-backs in this game for these guys. Kristaps Porzingis should be returning after resting the last game. He's at 7,600. His recent games have been a little bit down. I do like his ability to bounce back, but I'm not putting the farm on it. While 8,000 for DeAndre Ayton it's a risky play because we know he's been up and down. He had 48 last game, but he's averaging, 39 over the last 5? We can possibly do better, but this matchup does suit him. Luka's at 10,800, and that always looks to be a pretty good one to me. Doncic only averaging 46 over the last 3, but has had an 86-point game in his last 5. There is upside there. I wouldn't say he's an absolute lock, but he's an option. While Devin Booker is questionable after missing the last 4 with a hamstring problem. If Booker is out, 8,200 for Chris Paul is good. If Booker is in, 8,200 for Paul is too high. Tim Hardaway at 57 doesn't excite me, nor does Mikal Bridges or Josh Richardson at 4,000. They're not doing it for me, really, in the slightest. Next up, Memphis San Antonio. Some value perhaps in this game. Let's take a look. No spread or total out at this point, so we don't know if what's going on, but we do know that Grayson Allen is out. We do know that Jonas Valanciunas is out for Memphis, and Jaren Jackson and Justice Winslow. So Xavier Tillman got into some foul trouble last game, but still had 24 points in 21 minutes. He's at 4,800. I'm fine with using Xavier Tillman. Now you can use a different lineup and put Gorgie Jeng in there, because if Tillman gets into foul trouble, Jeng will play, and Jeng had 34 points last game, and that is also a pretty good option at 4,700. Maximum Derek White is at 4,600. He was pretty good in his first game back, 27 points in 22 minutes. I love the value of him here. And then Ja Morant at only 7,600. That feels like a significant underprice. I am all about that one. Last game, DeAnthony Melton went from a DNP to having 35 DraftKings points in 32 minutes. I don't know what the hell to believe in terms of his rotation role, but with Allen out again and at 4,300, yeah, love it. Absolutely, let's take a flyer on it. And 5,500 for LaMarcus Aldridge is only a GPP option. It's very hard to trust Aldridge, although his last couple of games were a back-to-back, so they did sort of keep his minutes down in those one. So there could be an opportunity for him to step up somewhat in this game if they do play him back closer to his regular allotment of minutes. I would have liked Keldon Johnson's salary to come down. He's at 5,700, and he played sparingly in the last game. I think that'll come up, but at 5,700, I'm not super into it. And DeRozan at 7,000. Well, he was atrocious last game. He had, 8 DraftKings points? I don't expect him to do that again. Do I expect him to beat the 35 price point or the value cut that we need? Yeah, I'm not certain. I don't mind it because the salary's attractive, but I'm not certain that it is the one that we necessarily want to go with. The last game of the day, it is the Pistons and it is the Nuggets. This is the Denver team on a back-to-back. We don't know if they're going to have Gaz Harris in this one because he did get hurt on Sunday. Farton Will Barton's at 48. He had 35 points in a big minute start. Will they go with him again? Yes, almost definitely they'll start with him. Will they play those minutes again? I'm not sure, but at 4,800, I'm happy to take a chance on it. Big Chungus, Nikola Jokic is at 10,900. You've got to love that. Love Jokic. And then Jeremy Grant, who's been actually, and, big media won't tell you this, and I say that, of course, 100% sarcastically, been a bit off. He's averaging 28 points in his last 3, and at 7,800, it's not even close to cutting it. Only 33 over the last 5. If you believe in revenge games, I do not, 100% I do not, but if you believe in them, you would maybe have a look here. But the salary hasn't come down enough to measure up with this drop in form from Jeremy. I'm not sure about it. Monty Morris at 3,800 is one to look at if Gary Harris happens to be sidelined. They could also start Porter and Barton together. But yeah, using Michael Porter at 6,500 is a pretty tough pill to swallow, given the way that Malone is handling his minutes, or should I say, mishandling his minutes. 7,200 for Jamal Murray is all right, but it just does not get me excited. Although his last three against Detroit, he's given us 43 points in those ones. But Murray just can't really explode or do anything like that. 31 in his game on Sunday, 45 the game before that. Like, they're all fine, but there's absolutely nothing spectacular about them. That'll do it for our first look for DraftKings. Don't forget, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, like this video. Also, go check out my channel, Locked On Fantasy Basketball, and my podcast, the Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Actually, my channel's called Josh Lloyd Fantasy Basketball, and my podcast is the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast. Check those guys out. Guys, we are done here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.